Good morning to everyone. So, I'm academic counselor H. Biswas. Uh, Today, MMPH 007, that is your compensation and reverse management, block number 2. Today, we have to discuss about the block number 2. This is a part of your HRM. So, in block number 2, there are two units. The unit number 5 and unit number 6. Unit number 5 is the basis of wage determinations, where actually the legal framework of the compensation and reverse. There's a block 2 thing. There are two units, basis of the wage determinations, and unit 6 is your legal frameworks. So that two units we have to discuss. Now, the structure of these units are basically the basis of the wage determinations, then economic aspects of the wage determinations, sociological aspect, then political aspect, psychological aspect, ethical aspect, then organization's ability to pay, the cost of the living. These all are the things are to be considered. Now, first let's understand what is the wages and the salary. The administration or the compensation is a significant aspect of the human resource management. So most of the companies it's a very difficult task. It's not so easy. You have to see the internal and external, all this considering all the areas. Then only you have to decide what should be the wages and salaries from the present based on the present market. Then fixation of the wages is another aspect. This is the internal mechanisms of the organizations, and it is being influenced by the both internal and external factors. Now, compensation through the primarily it is involves the economic considerations, but various other factors like the social, psychological, then your political and ethical factors are also quite relevant. Means the compensation are not only within the keep on the money only, because you have to sometimes you have to see their mentality, likelihood, where they are living, the standards, living standards also to be considered. Now, concept of the wages, it can be classified as all remunerations capable of being expressed in terms of the money, which would, if the terms of the contract of the employment, still when the people are joining in the new organizations as the employee and employer have a agreement. That is the contract of the employment, where it has been expressed everything and implied also. So where it is fulfilled by the payable of a to a person's employed in respect of his employment or of work done in such employment. So whatever he is doing, based on this, you have to pay something. That structure is already there. In simple words, we can say that the wage is payment or the remunerations for service rendered. What are the services we have rendered, and based on this, you are getting some money, payment. Now, your wages have been classified in 6 broad categories. Now, there are 6 categories of there: statutory minimum wages, then bare subsistence or the minimum wages, then living wages, fair wages, then your minimum wage, and need-based minimum wage. So, this is the category of the 6 broad area. Now, economic aspect of the wage determinations. Now, you have to see what are the economic conditions. There, the employee compensation is an important component of the cost of productions for the employees. So, because compensation, definitely it will be related to the cost of the product, because the cost of the production are to be seen that what are the compensation are giving that is justified or not. Then your sociological aspect of the wage determinations. Political, if you see socially how much they respect that positions he has, it is really acceptable or not. I mean, your his feeling, that feelings of the yes, I am getting the money, which are really good salaries. So that thing has to be, that aspect also to be seen. Then political considerations in the form of power and the influence also have bearing the compensation issues. The political associations of the trade unions, basically, and their involvement in the process of collective bargaining, they greatly influence the process of the wage fixations. Most of the cases, when the salary hike or something issues are there, that the trade unions and those the trade unions are politically biased, they are also sit together and discuss with the management. This is our charter demand. This is the way can we fix the wages, considering the market. The government also interferes in deciding the wage related issues and curtailing some of the freedoms of the parties and to decide the wage issues on their own. So government is also taking some of the issues and they have given some fixed standard and some of the norms they have decided and everybody has to follow. The legislations relating to minimum wages, the bonus and some other things, cashiers, gratuities, the constitution of the tripartite wage board is there and they have to decide an example for the India which fall under this category. So legislations are based on this legislation discussion or other outcomes based on this bonuses to be declared and other things. Now, ethical aspect of the wage determinations. There, it should be fair. There should not be any ambiguities. There should not be any differences. No inequality. Everything are considering. This is all are part of your ethical things, which taken into consider for the wage fixations. Now, the wages should commensurate with their efforts. They are not exploited, and there is no discriminations. No discriminations of the wages on the basis of caste, color, sex, and religions. While fixing the wages, an employer should take these factors into considerations. Means you have to see there is a woman and men-woman ratios. Accordingly, you have to give the equal salaries, equal compensations. That is also considered. Corporate compensation policy. The compensation policy of a corporations or industrial organizations has to consider simultaneous and their community concerns, the economic, the company's own objectives, plans for the expansions and the diversifications, and the employees' concerns. Corporate compensation policy cannot be conceived in isolations from the community goals and the environments. Here, actually, the company when decided the how much wages should be there, they have to consider some of the things. Sometimes you have to think in mind that those who are policy makers, they have to consider employees based on this job. What are the perfect figures of the based on these job evaluations, perfect salaries they have to decide. At the same times, they have to see the expansions of the and the diversification, what are the objectives of the company that really are meeting or not, and what is the employees' concerns with their welfare, the children, families, their medical facilities. There are so many things, and definitely it should be mostly the industrial industries organizations are thinking in this way. So accordingly, the policy has to be made so that they can reach the goal. Now, corporate compensation policies, again, there is, this will imply that rates must go up, but this should be non-information. Means a salary hike or the increment definitely should be linked with the inflations also sometimes. Plus, apart from that, company has some policies. Every year, this much, depending on the level of the pay scales, they have to decide this much are to be increased as a salary increase every year. And after that, 3 year or 4 year, then it may be revised or uh, maybe the higher levels. So every level there is some fixed amounts are there. Uh, Apart from the your uh, so that they can meet the inflations or the market inflations, they can meet. This can happen. The bulk of wages increases are linked to cost reduction of or the gain in the productivity. The wage output relationship is optimized and at least stabilized with the wages and cost controls providing an aid. Now, employees are motivated to give higher performance by operationalizing, among other things, the concept of merit pay and performance linked reward systems. Everything should be under the corporate compensation policy. There should be there who is the best executive and who has done excellent job in particular this month. That type of reward system should be there because he has apart from his all duties, you can out of the box he has done these things. So that is you have to motivate the things and a personal link, performance link of amount, but your things should be also there so that you can increase their productivity. Building the community goals in the corporate compensations policy should be in a perfect harmony with the interest of the company. You have some building in the community. Community have some particular one goal and they have to target that to meet these goals. And that is the way some creation of cooperations, integrity, and the harmony of the company. So interest for the both way. And so that the shareholders and the company also can be happy. Yes, this company is good, and they have built up the correlations with all members of the company, all employees, as well as yeah, they have taken care of the stakeholder also. So this way, you have to community culture you have to develop. Then higher wages are paid by those organizations which are able to afford them because sometimes the most of the companies they are not able to pay the things that things are required to see your the organizations are ability to pay the amount or not, basically the higher wages, higher salaries. So organizations which have high profits pay higher wages than those who are running at a loss or have a low profit. It is quite natural. Those who are earning profit is very good. The same company, they are don't hesitate to pay the higher salaries because based on the profit margins, they can distribute the amount and they can arrange in this way. But those who are loss making or not so much profit earning, they cannot hike the salaries as and when it is required. They can do it, but otherwise, some restriction is there. So employers pay high wages because of their increased ability to pay, but during the period of depressions, it may resort to wage cuts because of lack of sufficient funds. As I said, that is sometimes it has happened. Company has not able to give a high salaries because especially when the depression is going on or recession is going on or maybe the order booked in the particular current year is not sufficient or maybe the debt is more, they have to repay the more amount to the banks. There's so many situations are there. so many eventualities there come across. So based on this, they can cut the wages sometimes, and because of the uh, insufficient funds. Now, prevailing the market rate. This is otherwise we can say that the comparable wage rate. The going wage rate is another criteria for fixation of the wages. The organization has to pay wages in conformity with that of the industry and the community, and this is being done for several reasons. First is your prevailing the competitive market. Every employer is expected to pay uniform wages because it is almost the thumb rules. Secondly, various government laws and the judicial uh, pronouncements propose for the adopt of uniform wage rates. So that you have to obey. You have to what are the government laws and judicial procurement systems has been announced. You have to follow this, and based on this, the wage rates can be fixed. Third is your trade unions also support this practice as their members can have equal pay in spite of the geographical differences because you cannot injustice to those who are in the remote areas, those in the corporate or maybe in the metros. That differentiation cannot be everywhere. You have to equal pay are required, even considering in respect of what the caste and uh, your men or women, whatever it is, and in the location also, geographical areas. Fourthly, there is a functionally related to organizations within the same industry will be requiring the same type of employees in terms of quality and experiences. Another things, when in the organization there are maybe within the industry there are functional areas are there, different units are there, where that should be also the same terms and conditions and the quality of experience. To maintain the quality of the experiences, you have to fix the same amount. This necessitates the prevalence of the uniform wage and the salary rates. So that's why you have to have a unified salary systems should be there. Finally, if an organization does not pay the same wages rates as paid by its competitors, then it will not be able to attract the requisite quality and quantity of manpower and retain them. So, if suppose the company is failure, is not able to pay the amount which is the marketable amount which the other company competitors are giving, in that case, it is not the attractive things. Maybe the employee or in the others, those who are trying to enter in these industries, particular organizations, they may reluctant to join, reluctant to apply the things because it's not so attractive. So that case, it is very difficult to retain your whatever the staffs, whatever the employee are working. So it is difficult to retain them because they can try for the higher salaries to the other companies. So that is the considering these things also in mind. Then the criteria is related to wage and salary adjustments based on the increases and decreases in the acceptable cost of the living index. Based on the living index, also you have to adjust the things. So some sort of adjustment systems will be there so that you can increase and decrease the things. Some of the parameters, some of the components should be there. French benefits types, you can increase accordingly, or sometimes it may be decrease also, so that you can compensate the things. When the cost of living increases, it is followed by a demand from the workers and the trade unions to increase the wages of the offset. Its impact on the real wages. So it is some of the quite phenomena when the living cost of living is increases. Definitely, the trade unions are coming in picture. They have to decide and they have to give a proposal to the management for this type of so that they can increase their salaries or wages. That case, sometimes it is offset because what the company has decided or plotted the things, maybe you have to offset the salaries amount like this. So that's why it is impacting the real wages sometimes. DA is determined and influenced by the numerous factors. This includes the union and the management policies, labor code decisions, government policy, and movement in the consumer price index. So DA are influenced by the so many areas. One of your, as I said, that is your labor code decisions and your management policies and your price index, CPI in short. The rate of growth of CPI is different stations and centers in the is uneven because CPI are sometimes it is uneven because some of the areas metros the living cost is high, so you have to accordingly have to otherwise in the urban areas maybe it is not so much high because the rent is not high, foods other things. So that is the way the CPI declarations. I mean, it's also the rate of growth that they have to identify, and that's why it is not is a even, it is a uneven. Productivity. So this is another criteria which has a bearing on the wage and the salary rates. Productivity is generally measured in terms of the output per man hour. What of the man hour you have utilized for 7 hours or 8 hours, and how much you have. So that is the way you can have a relationship and make a some formula. So this is the way you can say you can measure the productivity. The productivity is an output measures, form of a combined contribution of all resources like the manpower, machines, methods, your materials, and the management. These are all the input areas, and finally, what are your output? So you can consider it this way. So productivity cannot be measured exclusively for any specific factor of the productions. Now, trade unions play a significant role actually in this some bargaining process, trade union bargaining process. So trade unions definitely are in a biggest role, significant role in the process of fixations. So generally, it is stronger and more powerful. A trade union, the higher will be the your wage rates, because if it is union is very strong and politically background is good, and then definitely they can give a pressure to the management or with a some actual fact. So then it is very easy to negotiate and they can achieve the things for the higher salaries. So in this way, so that means strong trade union sometimes is needed. Trade unions bargaining power is derived from the membership distance, because trade union there are how much strength they have. Based on these, you can say yes, the strength is this. It is financial strength and the nature of leaderships, because sometimes leadership is also action. If you're a good leader, then they can negotiate better and leads the union and a better function. Further, your strike or a threat of strike cannot be used as a powerful weapon. Strike can be used as a powerful weapon to pressurize the management, because if you have a strong unions and you have a number of members, maybe 60-70% are members of the employees within the organizations, then they can create a pressure, because they can give a threat to the organizations for the strike and all this, then management can be agreed. Thus, an increase in wages is often achieved for the employees as a consequence of the trade union bargaining power. So it means it is increasing the wages. If the trade union's bargaining power is good, they have enough strength, then it is a increase. Now, job evaluations. So it is the equitable structure or the internal equity your implies that the wage differentials are based on the degree of difficulty of the job. So means job evaluations here actually is a systematic method of evaluating the each job in relation to other jobs in an organization, ensuring that equity in the internal rates of the jobs for jobs. Otherwise, you can say the job evaluation is usually undertaken to resolve existing irrationalities and inequalities in wage rates, which sometimes become a source of conflict. Because from the job evaluations, you can clearly understand this is the jobs and this much money. If you don't know the what are the quantity of jobs and type of jobs, so money has justified or not. So job evaluation can give you, job evaluation can dictate you, yes, this is the right. I don't know. So this is the way we can sometimes reduce the conflict by the mutual discussions. So precautions include among the others, the adoption of the systematic procedures for job analysis and the job evaluations, and then the constitution of the job evaluation committee with the union functionaries on it, the recognitions and the treatment of the grievances as distinct from the matter pertaining to and the arising out of the job evaluation program. So, committee will decide, job evaluation committee will decide is it right or wrong. Now, some of the questions are pertaining to this unit, which are from the exam point of view. So, what factors go in the determination of the pay in an organization? So, what are the factors that have to derive? And then your second question is explain the economic, sociological, and political, psychological, and the ethical aspects related to which fixations. Then are the wages determined on the basis of the demand and supply of the labor? Then discuss the role of productivity and bargaining power of trade unions relating to wage fixations. These are some of the questions from this unit. Now we are going to the legal frameworks. Now you see any compositions, some within the framework, within the legal framework, we have to see so that considering the government rules, government different actions, labor, all of the acts are there. That's considering or not, depending on the you have to make a structures. Then these units are basically pertaining to introduction, then your statutory minimum wages, then your minimum wages, living wages, fair wages, minimum, then need-based minimum wages, definition of the wage. So this is the way it is derived. Now, simple words, we can say that wage is payment or remuneration for the service standards. That unit number 5 already you have read out. The wages are classified into 6 broad areas. As I said, the statutory minimum wages, then your living wages, fair wages, minimum wages, need for the. So this is all this part already we have seen. Now, what are the statutory or minimum wages act? Now we are coming to the act. Different act is this, which the framework are defined. So is prescribed in this way act, which is prescribed under the Minimum Wage Act 1948. So in 1948 is all everything are prescribed. What should be there? In higher than the their subsistence is required, then the minimum wages, providing for the some of the these are the educations, then your medical requirements and amenities. So all these things are there. And there is some study already there. This is about the Crown Aluminium Works versus their workmen in the AIR 1958 SC30. There's already there. So then, as per the section, that according to Section 4 of the Minimum Wages Act 1948, because as you know, most of the acts, there are again some of the sections are there, Section 1, Section 2, Section 3, there are so many sections, and so that it can cover up all the aspects. So there, as a minimum wages fixed or revised under the Section 3 by the appropriate government in respect to given the basic rate of the wages and the special allowances, then your a basic rate of the wages with or without the cost of the living allowances, then your all inclusive rate allowing for the basic rate and the cost of the living, then a cost of living allowances and the your cash value of the concession, so everything are defined. So actually, cost of living allowances or without, it is depend on the situations where you are democratically or geographically where you are. If it is a cost of living is particular metros are high, definitely you have to pay for the that allowance. If you are not in metros or somewhere other places where that type of inflation is not there, it will not affect the particular area, then maybe you have to be reduced. Now, bare subsistence or the minimum wages. The bare subsistence wages is the rate of wages which would be sufficient to cover the physical needs. It means bare subsistence, these basic things should be there. Roti kapra makan means basic things are required so that they can survive the worker as well as his or her family, irrespective of the capacity of the industry to pay. Then it is by the Crown Aluminium Works versus their workmen. As per the survey, based on the survey. Also express the newspapers private limited and the Union of the India legal framework 1951. This is already there's so many different sections are there. Now living wages. Try to understand what are the living wages. Living wages, the Justice the Higgins of the Australian Commonwealth Code of the Violations in the harvester case define the living wages as one of the appropriate for the normal needs of the average employee. Normal, again I'm repeating, normal needs of the average employee regarded as a human being living in a civilized community. So this is the basically definition of the living wages. Otherwise, we can express that is according to him. He says the living wages must provide not merely for absolute essentials such as food and clothing, but for a conditions of the economical comfort estimated by current human standards. So that basic comfort level wages are also to be required. He explained it further by saying that it was a wage sufficient to ensure sufficient to ensure the workmen food, shelter, clothing, and frugal comfort, provision for evil days, etc., as well as regard for the special skill of your artisans if he is one. So this is the way to consider so that he can live well-being. Basically, the persons can live in very happily. Now the fair, reasonable wages. Fair wages should be there, but there should be reasonable wages. The committee of the fair wages say that the fair wages lies between a minimum wages and a living wages. So it is in between. That is, we can say it is a fair wages, almost the average point. Suppose you can say suppose for the minimum wages, for example, 20,000, and the living wage is around 25,000. So to 22,500, we can have a benchmark. We can say that is your a reasonable fair wages. It is not a minimum point, not a high living point. In between somewhere, range is there. Minimum wages and the living wages, the range. So in between somewhere, your packages are there. So lying in between, as I say, the lying between these two limits, the determining the actual wages will depend on the following forms, so the following factors. Some of the factors are there. Based on this, you can decide. There's a government of India, some wages rules and regulations are there. The report of the committee of the fair wages, because when they are giving some report, you have to consider it. Cited in the report on the National Commission of Labor 1959, they have given some report also. So the productivity of the labor and the prevailing rate of the wages, then your level of the national income and its distributions, is all are the considering point. The place of industry in the economy of the country, then you can have some fixed, some fair wages basically. Now minimum wages. The committee on the fair wages stated that the minimum wages must provide not merely for the subsistence of the life, but for the preservation of the workers, covering the measures of education, medical requirements, and amenities. So minimum wages are being again decided by the committee. The committee also stated that an industry which was incapable of paying these minimum wages had no right to exist. This is a very strong recommendations. The committee says, suppose the industry is not able to pay these things, then they cannot exist. They can stop the business, or maybe the diversifications, or they can hand it over to, they can sell the business and hand it over to some right persons. So this is the one point. And for fixing the minimum wages, no regard should be paid to the capacity of the industry to pay, and it should be based on the requirements of the worker and his families. So the Government of India report of the Committee of the Fair Wages, this is page number 15, it is cited in the report of the National Commission of Labor 1959. There it has been described regarding the minimum wages. Then need-based minimum wages. The 15th Indian Labour Commission Conference held in 1957. For the first time, they described the concept of the minimum wages for the industrial worker. The norms set by the ILC say that they have said with regard to the minimum wages, it is need-based and should also ensure the minimum human needs of the industrial worker and his family, irrespective of any other considerations. The ILC further held that to calculate the minimum wages, the committee accepted the following 5 norms, and they recommended that they should give, they said, guide all the wage fixing authorities, including the minimum wage committees, then the wage boards, and the educators, those who are adjusting the things. Need-based minimum wages, again, the calculating the minimum wages, the standard working class family should be taken to consist of 3 consumptions units. For one, earner is 74 legal frameworks of the compensation and triggers and reward earnings of the women, children, and adolescents should be disregarded. Minimum food requirements should be calculation on the basis of net intake of 2,700 calories as recommended by Dr. upward for an average Indian adult of the moderate activity. So main things in the legal framework system there, when you are talking about the minimum wages, there are a lot of things are there to, to considering the things, and it is very meticulously prepared, considering all the aspects. Then clocking requirements should be estimated as per the as per the capita consumptions of 18 years per minimum. How much the clothing is required. So this is the way it is meant to say, means there are so many areas as considered. Housing, another rent corresponding to the minimum provisions. Is everything are the corporate industry, the housing schemes, the minimum should be taken into considerations in fixing the minimum wages. How much HRA should be there? That is fixed like this. It is surveyed and finally the factual indication, based on these indications, you have to decide it. Fuel, then your lighting, and the other miscellaneous items of the expenditure should constitute 20% of the total minimum wages. So yes, see the how what the wage is calculated. Maybe question may arise the why it is needed minimum wage. So when paying the wage minimum wage, then to considering all the aspects here, how and what the way it is calculated, that part is given. Now, feature of the payment of the bonus act. In the 1965, some bonus act is there, and it is aimed to providing the bonus link with the profit link, or you can say the productivity to the employees of certain establishments and for matters connected to their to impose the statutory liability upon the employers of the establishments covered by the act to pay a bonus to the employees in the establishments. So it is already, that feature is there, and in the bonus act 1965 it is already written what should be that framework is given already, and to define the principles of the payment of bonus according to the prescribed formula. And there are some formulas should be there, how much should be there. To provide for payment of minimum and maximum bonus, there is some limit is there. Minimum, how much payment should be there, and maximum. To provide the machinery for enforcement of the liability for the liability for the payment of bonus with a view to minimizing the disputes of the account. Now, following are these main features are given in the payment of bonus feature. What are the features? There is the minimum bonus rate, area of the wages, then your time limit of the bonus, then set off and the minimum bonus, maximum bonus levels, then your link with the productions, productivity, obligations, and right of the employees, right of the employers. So everything are the features are there. Now, 20th century, the dictionary defines that the bonus as a premium beyond the usual interest for a loan. So, an extra dividend to stockholder, to the shareholders, the policy holder share profits, and extra payment to the workmen and others. Neither the payment of Bonus Act 1965 nor any other industrial law defines bonus. So these all are documented. You can download it, the different acts of the there, and then there will be go through this and identify some of the areas which are related to your so that you can write a answer based on this. Especially, you have to remember all the act. Sections may not, sometimes you may not be remember, or if you are remember the sections, that's good. Others, at least the year of act is very important. Then your say the eligibility. Every employee shall be entitled to be paid the bonus, and provided he or she has worked for at least 30 working days in a year. That is a mandatory at least 30 working day, particularly in a particular 1 year, then will be eligible for the bonus. Disqualification of the bonus, that is in case under the act of the employee, is may be disqualified from receiving bonus he or she dismissed from service, or some fraud cases, notorious or violent behavior, or the theft, misappropriations, and the sabotage of the property of the in these cases, you may not be allowed to get the bonus. Company will not give you because your record is not good. Payment for maximum bonus. Now, coming to some, what is the maximum bonus? The bonus shall be an amount in proportion to the salary or wages earned by the employee, subject to a maximum of the maximum 20%. Now, a point to be noted: the maximum of 20% of such salary to wages the limit. Reduction in bonus. What are some provisions also there for the reductions? So where an employee has not worked for all the working days in an accounting year, then in that case, if the minimum bonus of 100 rupees is higher than 8.33% of the salary, or we can say the wage for the days he has worked shall be proportionately reduced. So you have to have a see how much really you are eligible for 8.33% or not. That is the thing. Accordingly, if it is not there, then you have to product basis you have to give how many days you have worked and how many days you are leave from the company. You've taken a leave or maybe some other purposes. Equal Remunerations Act, that is in 1976. In this act, the equal remunerations are declared. Men or women workers are for the prevention of the discriminations on the ground of sex against the women in the matter of employment and for the matters connected therewith, incidental thereto. The duty of employers to pay equal remunerations to men and women workers for same work or the work of a similar natures. They have to pay it equal. No discussions to be made while the recruiting. At the time of recruiting also, men or women workers on the form of a commitment of this act. So there also you have to mention their contract at the time of joining contract, what are the salaries, and there should not be any ambiguities. In case where the employer pays less than the minimum wages fixed by the professional government, a summary procedure has been provided for the recovery of the balance with penalty and subsequent prosecutions of the offending party. So there is some provisions there. You can get increased salaries or something if you're not maintaining the minimum wages. That case you can give a petition to the court or the labor court and you will get these things. Even in the company also take care of these things. The feature of the Payment of the Wages Act 1948. They are ensuring the regularity of the payment as per the act. Then you are ensuring the payment in legal tenders, preventing the arbitrary deductions, and restricting employers' right to impose the fines, etc. If some fine is there, then some restrictions should be there. Then you are providing the remedy to workers. This is all are some of the features of the Payment of Wages Act 1948. The main features of the Equal Remunerations Act 1976. It can be a come in a short questions. Then you have to write only these things. What are the features? Duty of the employer to pay equal remunerations to men and women. No discrimination to be made. Power of appreciate government to appointment. Duty of employer and to maintain the registered records, everything. These all are the features. Then some of the silent features of the gratuity. Now we are talking about the Payment of Gratuity Act, that is in 1976, 1972. The Payment of Gratuity Act 1972, this emphasizes to provide a retirement benefits to workers who have rendered the long and uh, unblemished services to the employer and contributed to the prosperity of the employer. They are eligible for the gratuity. So gratuity is the reward for long and meritorious service. You have worked in our company for such in such 30 years or 25 years, whatever it is, according to uh, things, and you have to give some money in terms of your gratuity. The features of the act, that is, every employee, irrespective of their wages, is entitled for the gratuity, and if rendered qualifying the services. The only prescribed method for the calculation of the gratuity is the following. Now we have to see what are the prescribed systems. There are non-authorized deductions is to be made from the gratuity. Then facility of the nominations. Then mode of payment as per the choice of the workman. What the way, online, cash, draft in a draft mode, or you can transfer the money to the particular bank. So mode of payment has to be there. Then employers to obtain the compulsory insurance approved gratuity funds monthly. Then protection of gratuity against the attachments. Then employers are required to maintain proper record of the gratuity related to schemes. These all are the company has to see. Then some of the silent features of the employees provident funds and the miscellaneous provisions act, that is 1952. Some of the features are there. The scheme called the employees pension scheme is another apart from the gratuity and provident fund. There is a pension scheme in accordance with the provision of the section 6A of the employees provident fund and miscellaneous provisions. That is Act 1952. So what is written there? They are actually the superannuations pensions, the retirement pensions, or we can say the permanent total disablement pensions to the employees of any establishment or class of establishments to which the Act applies. Widow or widowers pensions, children's pensions, widowers children's pensions, or orphan pensions payable to the beneficiaries of such employees. These all things are through this EPSO, different government organization studies are there. Through this way, you can get the pension. The Act further provides that employers' contributions not exceeding 8.33% of the basic wages, TNS allowances, or employees also to be contributed in employees' provident fund. So these all are the provisions are there as per the framework. Now contribution to your employee, that is 12% of the pay. They have to deduct the things and it will be go for the future payments. Pay includes that the basic wages, GNS allowances, cash value of the food concessions, and also on leave encashments. These all are the as per the provision of 1952. Then retaining the allowances, that is mains allowances payable for the time being to an employer, and voluntary contributions, that is wherein the member shall be at liberty to make voluntary contributions. That is, your employer cannot reduce the pay. Minimum provident fund contributions 12% of the pay, and maximum provident fund contribution 100% of the pay. These all are some of the uh, voluntary contribution systems. Now, uh, some of the questions in particular this unit, that is your legal frameworks. How minimum wage salary differences from the need-based minimum wages. Then, what is the living wages? Then, has the constitutions provided for the securing the life living wages workers? Question may come. This is the way. Then identify the such elements of the wages which are common in all the statutory definitions. Then what are the factors that are to be taken into account while fixing the minimum wages? That is an important question. Question number 4, that is very interesting. Then what is the concept of wage under the wage code of 2029? So this is the basically some of the questions are likely to be from these areas. Now, apart from that, now I have to see some of the more things. I can try to include some of the more things which are for information only. So, considering in the unit number 5, where we have seen that the economy, sociology, and political, psychological, and ethical aspect related to wage fixation. So this is a very important question. Then your factors, always you have to remember some of the what are the factors for the determining of the pay and organizations. As a recap, I can say which we have already discussed. So factors is very important. Which are the factors when you are deciding the pay package? What are the factors you have to consider? Then some of the things, your political aspect you have seen, then your psychological, then your productivity bargaining, because you see when the trade union are bargaining, depending on the productivity, if the productivity is good, definitely they have a discussion. So discuss the role of a productivity and the bargaining power of the unions relating to the wage fixations. This type of questions are important. Then apart from this, if I go for the legal frameworks, unit number 6, there apart from these questions also are to go through the living wages, because we can say the living wages. What are the minimum wages, and at the same time to understand the living wages. So within the living wages, what are the things are for? Then fair wages, we have already discussed. Minimum wages also we have discussed. There is also need-based minimum wage. So this is the area to be covered up from the exam point of view. Then different acts. There's a Minimum Wages Act 1948. It is important. You have to go through this and write at least 4 or 5 sentences. Then Payment of Wages Act, that is in 1935. So this is the way all the act, Bonus Act 1955. This is also important. Then Industrial Dispute, that is in 1947. Some Industrial Dispute Act is there. That act also to be gone through this, where the wages they have defined. What are the things are to be included? That is already defined there. Then Equal Remuneration Act 1975. 1975 Equal Remuneration Act. That is also important. Where there is mentioned the salaries and all these wages and some of the additional benefits also they have mentioned. This is the important part. Then gratuity, as I said, now the Gratuity Act 1972. That is also it. What are the things? Then your insurance scheme also should be there. Many employees state insurance scheme, and 1948 is already decided. Then maternity benefits. Act 1951, and now it has revised also. So Maternity Act also is important because women employees are increasing. So that's why you have to, all the organizations have to be considered. Then Employees Compensation Act. The almost basically whatever the acts are there, Wage Code Acts 2019, all the acts are very important. Particularly this unit, we are talking about different acts of this. So there are 4 5 very important acts of this, and accordingly you have to go through this. And this is the way the particular this block two we have completed now, and I hope it is I can give you some of the clips and some of the ideas of the things. So I think now time is almost over. So okay, thank you very much. Thank you.